Hello, I'm Linord Moudou. Vincent McCoy is off today. This is Africa 54. With emotions running high, protesters and police are engaged in fresh clashes in the central U.S. town of Ferguson, Missouri, over the shooting death of an unarmed black teenager by a white police officer. What started as a peaceful protest late Monday night spiraled into chaos when heavily armed police in riot gear fired stun grenades and tear gas at demonstrators. 31 people were arrested and 2 people were wounded by shots fired from within the crowd of protesters. Missouri Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson, who was placed in charge of security in Ferguson last week by Governor Jay Nixon, told reporters early Tuesday that police came under heavy attack from what he called a tiny minority of protesters.
But anyone who has been at these protests understands that there is a dangerous dynamic in the night. It allows a small number of violent agitators to hide in the crowd and then attempt to create chaos. The catalyst can be bottles thrown, Molotov cocktails, and of course shots fired. Protesters are peaceful and respectful. Protesters don't clash with police. They don't throw Molotov cocktails. It is criminals who throw Molotov cocktails and fire shots and endangers lives and property.
The latest standoff occurred near the street where 18-year-old Michael Brown was fatally shot by a local police officer on August 9th. An independent autopsy requested by Brown's family showed that he was shot at least 6 times, including 2 bullets to the top of his head. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is traveling to Ferguson on Wednesday to get an update on the federal independent civil rights probe into Brown's death. And for more on the fragile situation in Missouri, joining us live via phone from Ferguson is VOA's Marialis Salinas. Hello, Marialis.
Hello, Linord. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for joining us. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is slated to arrive there on Wednesday to oversee the federal response to the shooting of Michael Brown. How big of a deal is this, his travel?
Well, let's think about this. This is the top U.S. law enforcement officer in the country who is coming to a community of just over 20,000 people to deal with the shooting of a local man. It is a big deal. It is a huge statement from the Obama administration. The president himself has spoken about this. And there is an awareness that this case represents something around the nation, a sense about race, a sense about equality, a sense about appropriate policing, a sense about civil rights, and boundaries and how each side should comport themselves when we handle issues like this. And that the issue of race is still very much alive, and there's still a lot of discord and dissension and disagreement about where we stand as a nation in that. It is big. It is big.
And what is the current situation now? Is the violence still ongoing?
What we have is violence erupting somewhere around the midnight hour. You know, I was there with my colleague last night, and the tension was clearly there. Protesters were there peacefully. They've been ordered to keep moving, not just stand around. So they're there moving with their signs, their hands up as a symbol that their belief that Michael Brown, in this case, was shot with his hands up. That's contrary to the police officer's story. But so the violence erupts around midnight, and you know, the interesting thing I found is all today, so many people in the community came to clean up the mess, the broken windows, people with trash bags. I mean, you know, I would say, you know, into the hundreds of different people volunteering to come and clean up. So it's definitely a contrast to what happens at night. But it's that very real threat that keeps such a massive police presence out there. Really, it's something to see everywhere in this stretch. Police everywhere, from National Guard to state highway patrol to county police to local police.
So quickly, Marialis, doesn't this violence kind of take away from the message that they're trying to convey? What are they saying about that?
Well, you know, and that's the interesting thing, and that is a predominant message in the community here, religious leaders, community leaders, and just people who live here. we have a right to ask questions. We have a right to be upset. We have a right to doubt the account of the police officer's story, but violence is not the way we do it. A far larger perspective is there are ways in this country, avenues in this country to handle this. The Department of Justice response, that's why it's so important, because they feel like, all right, we're going to get a real inquiry into this. And one religious leader said, if we don't, we're going to continue to see this, because the race issue is very real.
Absolutely. Mary Alice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Linord.
VOA's Mary Alice Salinas reporting live via phone from Ferguson, Missouri.